When I stumbled upon a sleeping janitor in the supply closet, I uncovered a life-changing secret. I will never forget the chill of that moment. The room smelled of dust and old cleaning supplies. The light flickered overhead, casting eerie shadows on the shelves. My heart raced. What was I doing there? I hadn't even meant to find him. He lay on the floor, surrounded by mops and buckets. His eyes shut tight, brow furrowed. I felt a pang of guilt for disturbing him. Or was it curiosity? I shook my head, trying to shake off the strange feeling creeping up my spine. Suddenly, I noticed a glint under the dim light. A sliver of something, an envelope peeking out from beneath a tattered cloth. I bent closer, my breath hitching in my throat. It was just a piece of paper, but it hummed with potential. My mind raced with possibilities. Could it be a love letter? A secret message? My pulse quickened as I reached for it. That's when he stirred, a low groan escaping his lips. In that heartbeat, I pressed the envelope to my chest, a jolt of electricity shocking me. Who was this man? What had he seen? My father had always spoken of the janitor as a ghost lurking in the school, a figure of mystery with tales no one dared to uncover. I had thought it was just a story. But there he was, the sleepy guardian of hidden truths. I glanced down the hallway. The soft sound of students laughing echoed, oblivious to the tension in this small closet. The janitor shifted again, eyes fluttering open. Our gazes locked. His eyes were a deep, worn brown filled with stories too heavy for his fragile frame. I couldn't just leave him there. My heart ached with a strange urgency. Was this moment supposed to mean something? He coughed slightly, clearing his throat. What do you need? He rasped. My voice escaped me. I wanted to ask about the secrets he held, about the envelope, about life lost in the shadows of the diligent scrub and sweep. I swallowed hard, pressed my trembling hands to my side. The weight of the situation loomed. I could feel it in my bones. A sigh escaped his lips. You've got questions. He paused, eyes narrowing, as if he was peeling back layers to see the truth beneath my own surface. But are you ready for the answers? I opened my mouth, but no sound emerged. The envelope crinkled in my grip. What lay ahead felt like an abyss. Could I dive in? What if I shouldn't have found him? Then, a loud crash echoed from the hallway. We both jumped. Fear pulsed through me. What was happening? The janitor's expression shifted, his eyes widened with unspoken dread. Look, you need to leave, he said urgently, springing to his feet, his frail frame surprisingly quick and agile. But I was frozen, caught between his command and the mysterious envelope that could alter my life forever. What lay inside? What would it reveal? I could feel my heart pounding wildly, each beat a question hanging in the air. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash the like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. I stood there, heart racing, the envelope still pressed against my palm like a lifeline in a storm. The janitor's urgency crashed against my hesitation, a wave of tension swelling in the air. My thoughts spiraled. What could possibly be so dangerous? Just as the noise outside seemed to fade, I could feel his gaze burning through me, demanding action. Please, I whispered, desperate to sound brave. What's going on? He glanced toward the door, brows knitted together, before his focus returned to me, as heavy as the air, thick with secrets. Things are shifting. You shouldn't be here when they come. My mind raced. Who were they? I bobbed in uncertainty, swings of hope and fear clashing deep within. I wanted to ask him for more about the envelope, about his life, but before I could form the words, the echo of laughter and chatter faded out, replaced by a heavy silence that felt like an omen. Let me help you, I urged, my voice a desperate plea. The janitor hesitated, something flickering in his eyes like a flame about to extinguish. Not everyone can be helped. Not everyone wants to be. His words felt like a slap, the weight of them crashing into the fragile connection we had formed in moments. I shook my head, refusing to accept his defeatist view. "You don't know what I want. Please, just tell me what's in that envelope." The flickering overhead light bounced shadows around us, creating an ethereal glow in this crummy supply closet. In that moment, the strangest sense of solidarity flooded through me, him, a figure of resilience, and me, merely a questioning child. I could sense his weariness, the lines on his face told tales of struggles, and yet something about this encounter hungered for resolution. He sighed as he scanned my face, assessing the desperate hope I couldn't hide. "Okay, but you need to trust me. What I reveal could change everything," and then, as if time itself had spun its gears, he took a step closer. I could barely breathe as he reached for the envelope, carefully peeling it from my grasp. His fingers brushed mine, a fleeting moment of connection that chased away the earlier anxiety. As he opened it, the sound of paper crackling seemed to fill the closet like thunder, amplifying the emotional weight of our shared silence. Whatever was mislaid within held the potential to reshape lives. I leaned closer, my heart strangled with anticipation and dread, and suddenly, he froze mid-motion, his countenance frowning deeply. "What is it?" I asked, urgency shaking through me. His expression darkened, and I followed his gaze. A shadow passed just outside the door, heavy footsteps approaching. I felt a chill seep down my spine. The janitor swiftly shoved the envelope back into my hands. "You can't be here when they come. You don't understand the danger, but I want to help. I need to know." He shook his head sharply. "You need to leave. Now." "Not until you explain," I insisted, voice trembling, anxiety shoving aside reason. The footsteps grew louder, a wave of darkness unfurling beyond our fragile refuge. The janitor cursed under his breath, darting for the door. My heart pounded with the realization that everything in my world was about to change forever. Without thinking, I reached out and gripped his arm, my voice breaking. "Don't go." His eyes flashed with concern, and for a heartbeat, I thought he might bend to my will. Instead, he shook me off, retreating just inches from the door. "Please, just go. This isn't your battle." The door creaked open a fraction, the intruder's silhouette loomed, dominating the threshold. Panic coursed through me, anxiety churning in a whirlwind of emotions. I could either flee or stand, tethered to this moment, the envelope a talisman of destiny clutched in my hands. The janitor drew in a ragged breath, something unspoken passing between us. "You have to make a choice. Trust me, or stay," and just then, the door swung wide open, revealing a figure cloaked in shadows. The air crackled with tension, and time froze. The mystery of the envelope about to unravel, the threat looming closer, unveiling a world I had never dared imagine. With one swift movement, the figure stepped forward, and I felt my heart lurch, caught between the past and an uncertain future. "Ah, there you are," the cloaked figure said, voice chillingly familiar. My heart sank as recognition hit. This was someone from my life, someone I couldn't quite remember but felt profoundly connected to. The closeness of the danger ignited within me a rush of raw fear. I glanced back to the janitor, hope battling with despair, and prepared for the fateful choice that lay before me. The figure stepped into the flickering light, and its face, obscured in shadows, began to come into focus. My breath caught in my throat as recognition lanced through me. It was someone from my pot, an unbidden specter whose memory haunted corners of my memories that I had thought safely buried. The features were older now, but unmistakable. Fear pricked at my skin, a thousand questions racing through my mind. "Is it really you?" I managed to whisper, the sound barely escaping my lips. With every heartbeat, every breath, I felt the walls of the supply closet close in, suffocating me with the impending revelation. The cloaked figure offered a sardonic smile, but it was tinged with something deeper, in empathy that fluttered beneath the surface. "Remember me?" the figure asked, voice dripping with a mixture of disdain and warmth that twisted my stomach. "No." The answer tumbled out, both a plea and a denial, but the truth hovered like a shadow behind my panic. I pulled my gaze away, drawn back to the janitor's face, a mixture of desperation and understanding swirling there. "Get out," he grumbled, body taut with the urgency of the moment. It was as if he sensed something shifting, something dangerous brewing in the fragments of our past, but I couldn't move. Memories surge like waves crashing against a fragile shoreline, laughter echoing in a sunlit park, whispered secrets shared over ice cream, a sudden rift that shattered everything. The figure before me represented everything I had tried to forget, and yet here they were, unraveling the threads of my carefully constructed life. No one told you, did they? It continued, taking a step closer. You always were too stubborn to see the truth. Something within me screamed to turn and run, to escape the upheaval of feelings stirring violently beneath my surface. But when I glanced back at the janitor, his eyes conveyed a silent urgency, a beckoning push. I could sense his desperation, the weight of the world resting on his shoulders. Listen to him, the janitor murmured, barely above a whisper. Whatever you think you know, it's not the half of it. What do you mean? I asked, anxiety steeped in my tone, feeling the undercurrent of panic threading into each word. Your life is about to spiral in ways you can't even fathom, but you have a choice, the cloaked figure said, voice softened, almost conspiratorial. You can run, and nothing changes, or you can join us and finally uncover the truth left buried. It's time you confronted the past. Confront the past? I echoed, incredulous. The very notion felt like the punchline to a dark joke. How could I even begin to unearth the buried shards of my life? Just as I opened my mouth to retort, the weight of the envelope pressed against my hand, a reminder of the mystery between me and the janitor who understood far more than he let on. The janitor's gaze flickered with understanding, pinning my swirling thoughts down with a single look. In that moment, I could see not just concern, but fierce resolve, urging me to reclaim whatever it was I'd lost. You have strength, whether you see it or not, he said quietly. Trust yourself, trust myself. I asked incredulously, heart pounding, conflicted between fear and the rising embers of hope. I was teetering at the edge of a precipice, feeling the pull of an abyss filled with uncertainty and longing. Trust what? A past that haunts me, or a stranger cloaked in shadows? The figure stepped back, an expression of disappointment twisting across its face. You think this is a game? The stakes are far higher than your petty insecurities. A sudden harsh sound erupted, footsteps thundered outside, echoed with authority, and my heart lurched. The moment of choice was no longer mine to deliberate, the surrounding noise twisted the atmosphere with palpable urgency. Go now, the janitor urged, voice low and fervent. Before they find you here. No. I cried, eyes flashing between the two perplexing figures in my life. What do I do? The cloaked figure's eyes shimmered with something akin to sorrow, realization dawning in their voices. They urgently added, you have to understand there's a reason you found that envelope. There's reason we're all connected. I clutched it tighter, feeling the pulse of destiny thundering beneath my fingertips. But before I could respond, the door slammed open, revealing two towering figures clad in dark uniforms, faces obscured by capsmen who seemed to be the harbingers of chaos itself. Everyone stay where you are. One barked, voice cutting through the tense air. Their presence was suffocating, a warning bell of impending calamity. The gravity of the moment crashed down, anchoring me in place as I felt every fiber of my being whisper to act, to run. The janitor's voice was a hoarse command through the tumult, drawing my gaze back. His expression bore an intensity that ignited a flicker of instinct within me. Just then, I felt a hand grip my arm, the cloaked figure pulling me toward the darkness behind them, an escape route emerging from the chaos. Come with me, and you may uncover the truth that awaits. I hesitated, torn between the familiar face of the janitor and a past I had tried so hard to forget. Time hung, suspended in agony, as we stood at the precipice of choices, the envelope still clutched in my fists, a tether to everything that led us here. But it was too late. The choice had been made in a blink, the promise of answers in one direction, the haunting pull to safety in another. And as the men moved closer, realizing I was slipping away, I surged forward into the unknown, the echoes of my past trailing behind me like specters yearning for absolution. And just like that, I plunged into uncertainty, grasping the fragile hope of resilience against the tide. The darkness enveloped us as I was swept into the passage behind the cloaked figure. My heart hammered violently in my chest as we hurried through the narrow corridor, the muffled voices and footsteps of the men in uniforms fading into the distance. Each step felt precarious, the promise of secrets lurking in the shadows sparking a blend of exhilaration and dread within me. The envelope crinkled in my trembling grip, a charred piece of the past igniting unfamiliar flames of curiosity. Where are we going? I managed to whisper, glancing over my shoulder, half expecting the looming figures to burst around the corner. Somewhere safe, the figure replied, their voice a low murmur that wrapped around me like a cloak. If you want to understand the truth behind the envelope, we must move quickly. The hallway twisted and turned, dimly lit with flickering fluorescent lights that cast a ghostly glow across the peeling walls. Memories of my childhood raced through my mind, the places I used to visit, the laughter that once echoed before everything had fractured. I could feel the shadows of those experiences weighing heavily upon me as I followed the figure, longing for clarity yet terrified of what it might reveal. We finally reached a nondescript door at the end of the hallway. The cloaked figure pushed it open, revealing a small room furnished with mismatched chairs and a cluttered desk that looked like it hadn't seen organization in years. My heart sank, a sense of foreboding washing over me. Sit, the figure instructed gently, yet their presence was insistent. I complied, perching on the edge of one of the chairs, the envelope resting precariously on my knee like an unresolved question. Do you remember the last time you saw me? The figure prompted, taking a seat opposite me, their eyes locked onto mine with an intensity that shattered my defenses. I shifted uncomfortably, trying to summon the fragments of a distant memory, a haze of laughter and innocence now heavily veiled by time and disappointment. To think so. There was anger and everything changed. Everything did, they agreed solemnly. But that anger was not ours alone. There were forces at play, forces that sought to divide us. The weight of their words hung in the air like an unspoken weight, and I felt the flicker of an old flame igniting within me, the yearning for answers rekindling my spirit. You're saying it wasn't just my fault, it was never just yours, the figure said, a hint of compassion threading through their voice. But that's not all. You were part of something larger, a puzzle that needed piecing together. The envelope is a key, as is the courage you hold deep inside you. Their words sparked a flicker of something warm in the cold uncertainty that enveloped me. But just as I began to reclaim the narrative of my own life, a sharp knock interrupted the moment, reverberating through the frail door. We know you're in there. Open up. Came a commanding voice, laced with authority and aggression. My heart almost stopped. It was the very sound that had sent me into this place of refuge, now threatening to shatter any chance of safety. Damn it, the cloaked figure muttered under their breath, their expression hardening. They've caught up with us faster than expected. What do we do? Panic surged, the room pressing in closer. The figure leaned in, a spark of determination igniting their gaze. You listen to me carefully. When I say go, you'll escape through the window. I'll buy you time. No. I can't leave you. It felt like betrayal to consider fleeing while they faced an uncertain fate. It'll be fine, they said, and for a brief moment, I saw the softness in their eyes, the flicker of someone who once cared, someone who still believed. You must uncover the truth. You have to keep going, for both our sakes. The knocking intensified, urgency ringing through each strike. Instinct kicked in as I felt my breath catch in my throat, clenching the envelope tighter in my trembling hand. Without considering the weight of my decision, I spoke, my voice shaking yet resolute. I'll go. I'll find the truth, and I'll come back for you. The figure gave a subtle nod, their expression softening momentarily with gratitude. Trust yourself, they urged, the desperation tinged with a profound earnestness. Just then, I heard a loud crash as the door splintered open, the two men from before flooding into the room. There! One shouted, eyes alight with triumph as they zeroed in on me. I bolted toward the window, heart racing, adrenaline pulsing through my veins as everything around me blurred. The cloaked figure moved to confront the intruders, and for the briefest of moments, our eyes locked, an unspoken promise woven within the stark reality of our precarious fates. With a surge of courage, I flung the window open and leapt through, the night air wrapping around me like a shroud as I made my escape. Behind me, the sounds of chaos erupted, but I was now propelled by the flickering flame of hope, the echo of my determination resounding loudly within. As I plunged into the darkness, uncertainty gripped my heart anew. I was poised on the precipice of discovering everything I had long buried. But the haunting question remained, would I truly be able to return for the one who had summoned this journey into the unknown? The cool night air bit at my skin as I landed on the damp ground outside, and I scrambled to my feet, heart pounding as I bolted into the shadows. I barely registered the sounds of the chaos behind meth shouts, the crashing furniture as I instinctively pressed deeper into the embrace of the night. Each hurried breath reminded me of the weight of the envelope clutched tightly in my hands, a lifeline to the past, a key to the truth. A narrow alley beckoned, dark and silent, offering me a momentary cloak of safety. I ducked inside and leaned against the cold brick wall, trying to steady my racing heart. The words of the cloaked figure echoed in my mind, igniting a flicker of hope amidst the chaos. You have the courage inside you. Yet, with every passing second, the reality of my situation crashed over me like waves. I was alone, separated from someone who had risked everything, from a someone who believed in me when I couldn't believe in myself. Panic threatened to swallow me whole, a tempest of uncertainty swirling in my chest. But I squeezed my eyes shut, resisting the temptation to give in to the fear. I had to keep moving, I had to find the truth. With renewed determination, I slipped out of the alley and onto the dimly lit street. The city hummed with life around me, unaware of the turmoil that had engulfed my world just moments ago. I pushed forward instinctively toward the old diner where my memories of laughter and sunshine still flickered. It was my refuge, a place where love had been served alongside coffee and pie, a sanctuary during the storms of my youth. As I approached, the neon sign flickered uncertainly, casting a warm glow that felt both inviting and haunting. The door creaked open, welcoming me back into a space suspended in time. I stepped inside, the scent of stale coffee and fried food wrapping around me like an old blanket. My heart sank momentarily. The booths were empty, the chatter of friendly voices replaced by the soft murmur of old music from the juke. And then, my eyes fell upon Hema figure hunched over a table in the far corner, a janitor's uniform hanging loosely on his frame. He looked weary, a film of gray dust clinging to his hands as he absent-mindedly scrubbed a spot on the table. I didn't recognize him right away, but something about his presence pulled me closer. Excuse me, I said, my voice barely above a whisper, feeling a wave of vulnerability wash over me. Are you the janitor here? He looked up slowly, his eyes lighting with surprise. I am, he replied, studying me with a weight that suggested he had seen too much in a world made of secrets. I need help, I admitted, my words trembling as they tumbled out. I'm looking for answers, truths that I'd been running from. His gaze softened, a flicker of understanding dancing across his features. Well, young lady, sometimes the truth finds you when you least expect it. He picked up a worn rag from the table and wiped his hands, motioning for me to sit across from him. I don't know where to start, I confessed, feeling like a fragile reed swaying in a storm. Start with what you know, he encouraged, his tone gentle yet firm. What is it that you seek? I hesitated, the weight of it all crashing down once more. I have this envelope. It holds secrets about my past, about people I used to know. I reluctantly unfolded the crinkled paper, revealing the secret message and faded names that felt like ghosts from another life. His eyes widened slightly, recognizing the significance of what I held. This is important, isn't it? He asked, leaning in closer. Yes, but I don't know if I'm brave enough to face what it reveals, I admitted, the fierce desire to uncover the truth clashing with the trepidation that came with unearthing memories I had buried for too long. A small smile crossed his lips, it was warm and kind, with an unexpected twinkle of mischief. Bravery comes in many forms. Sometimes it's simply about stepping into a room you're terrified of. Just as I opened my mouth to respond, a heavy thud echoed outside, a familiar voice ringing through the thin walls of the diner. No, she's in there. Check the diner. She can't be far. My heart dropped as dread flooded my veins. They've found me, I gasped, panic surging once again. What do I do? The janitor's expression shifted to one of resolve. You run. Find a way to uncover the truth while you can. There's a hidden path in the back of the diner. It'll lead you away from here. Wait. I can't just leave you. I protested, a swirl of loyalty and fear gripping me. Don't look back, he insisted, his demeanor taking on an unyielding strength. Your answers lie ahead, but you must choose to chase them. I'll take care of this. He rose abruptly, determination etched into his features as he made his way to the entrance, positioning himself as a barrier between me and the danger that loomed outside. Go! Now! He commanded, trembling. I nodded slightly, my heart aching with gratitude as I moved toward the back of the diner. I could hear the janitor's murmured words of distraction as they approached, but I couldn't afford to linger. Hurrying through the kitchen, I spotted a door marked employees only and dashed through it. On the other side, a dark corridor stretched out before me. I hesitated, glancing back at the fading light of the diner behind me. The pounding footsteps grew louder, echoing ominously through the halls. I took a deep breath and began to run, the weight of the envelope pulsing in time with my heartbeat. But within the darkness of my escape, a new fear resonated in my chest. If I uncovered the truth, would I still be able to save the one who had shown me the path to my own courage? And then, as I pressed deeper into the shadows, a realization struck: the janitor might know more than he let on. Who was he really? What hidden secrets lay behind his weary eyes, waiting for someone brave enough to uncover them? With each breath, I plunged further into the unknown, propelled by the flicker of hope and the haunting specter of the shadows chasing me from behind. The corridor twisted and turned, the dim light above flickering ominously, casting shadows that danced like specters with every hurried step. My heart thudded in my chest, a relentless reminder of the danger nipping at my heels. The smell of something musty lingered in the air, making it feel more like a tomb than an escape route. I had never felt more alone. As I reached the end of the narrow passage, I stumbled into a room filled with old supplies, broken chairs, dusty boxes, and faded banners from events long forgotten. It was there, in that neglected space, that I found a face turned toward the wall, his breath slow and deep. He was a wiry figure with a scruffy beard, deeply slumbering on a pile of old rags. My heart tugged at the sight. This man, unlike the janitor, seemed lost in a world of his own dreams, untouched by the chaos outside. I shifted my weight, preparing to step back and slip away when something on the nearby shelf caught my eye, a glimmer of gold peeking out from an ancient box. Curiosity pulled me closer. I peered into the box, brushing aside layers of dust to reveal what seemed like relics of the past: old photographs, a compass, and a locket adorned with intricate engravings. My fingers trembled as I reached for the locket, its surface warm as if it had been held recently. As I opened it, my breath caught in my throat. Inside was a pair of familiar faces, two children, grinning with joy, their eyes bright with a hope long lost to me. In that moment, the world around me faded, and I was transported back to my childhood. I saw myself as a small girl, laughing and spinning in a sunlit garden with those same faced me brother and sister, their laughter echoing in my ears. A bittersweet ache surged through me as I pressed the locket against my chest, longing for those lost moments that had slipped through my fingers like sand. Suddenly, a loud crash echoed from the diner, snapping me back into reality. I realized with urgency that I had to keep moving, but the newfound weight of the locket felt like a beacon, glowing in the darkness of my uncertainty. I had not only found a precious memory but a clue, perhaps something that could weave together the fragmented strands of my past. Just as I turned to leave, the sleeping figure stirred, groggily lifting his head and blinking into the dim light. His eyes met mine, and beneath the scruffy exterior, there was a familiarity that sent chills skittering down my spine. Who are you?" he asked, his voice gravelly and filled with confusion. "I'm sorry, I didn't mean to wake you," I stammered, instinctively tucking the locket away. "I'm just trying to escape." He echoed, sitting up straighter and glancing toward the door as if realizing the gravity of my situation. "You've got something dangerous chasing you, don't you? You've got to run." "I know, my voice faltered. This stranger looked so much like someone I had lost, and yet, I felt the pull of recognition deep in my bones. "Wait. Do I know you? You look so familiar." He shook his head slowly, confusion clouding his features. "Maybe it's just the chaos making you imagine faces." "No," I protested, an unexpected surge of conviction rising within me. "You have to tell me. Why do you look like my brother? What's your name?" A flicker of something crossed his face: surprise, fear, and then an odd sense of recognition. I don't know any brothers," he admitted, voice trailing off as shadows crept in around us. "But I can tell you this, if you're looking for the truth, you're on the right path. Just be careful who you trust." Before I could respond, another crash resonated through the building, prompting alarm bells to ring in my heart. There was no more time. "I have to go," I whispered, the urgency of the moment clawing at me. "But I will find you again. I promise." He nodded, his expression shifting from confusion to a supportive warmth as I turned to flee. "Stay strong," he called out. "Remember, the truth can be a burden, but it might also set you free." With those words echoing in my mind, I dashed toward the exit, heart pounding louder than the chaos outside. But as I approached the door, something about the struggle beyond shifted. There were voices, familiar voices, echoing through the hall. "Check the supply closet. She has to be in there." My heart sank, a cold wave washing over me. I was not just running from danger, I was running toward memories I could barely understand. What would I become once the truth surfaced? I took one last glance backward at the sleeping figure and the locket tucked safely in my pocket, uncertainty swirling in my gut. In a heartbeat, I burst through the door into the night, the chill air hitting me like a splash of cold water. But the weight of my past loomed large with every step I took, and just as I turned the corner, something summing caught my eye in an unexpected moment that shattered my resolve, a pair of hollow eyes staring back from the shadows, a haunting familiarity sparking behind them. "I've been waiting for you," the echo of the voice called softly, tilting my world ever further into chaos. My heart raced, caught between the desperate need to run and an undeniable pull to uncover what was hidden in the darkness ahead. The night air bit into my skin as I stumbled away from the diner, my breath coming in ragged gasps. The familiar voice lingered in my mind, a haunting whisper that compelled me forward. I forced myself to look straight ahead, keenly aware that the danger was still behind me. It thrummed through the air like a tension-filled string, threatening to snap at any moment, yet, despite the urgency, I felt paralyzed by the impending confrontation with my past, by the revelation that lurked just around the corner. The locket pressed against my chest like a guiding star, illuminating the memories I had buried beneath layers of grief and fear. Still, I felt unmoored and afraid of the truth waiting to be uncovered. As I turned the corner, I nearly collided with a figure stepping out from the shadows. Just my loot kit was a clumsy accident waiting to happen. But when I looked up, I drew in a sharp breath. It was him again, the man from the linen room, his eyes glimmering with a blend of concern and recognition that made my heart race for an entirely different reason. "Be careful," he warned, glancing over his shoulder as if expecting someone to be lurking just out of sight. "You can't be too sure of who's out here." "Not now. Where did you come from?" I asked, my voice barely more than a whisper, the weight of the moment dragging my words down. "I thought you were." "I thought I was all alone." "I know," he replied, glancing away as though ashamed. "I was trying to get away from my own ghosts. But I can't let you face yours alone, not without giving you this." He reached into his pocket and pulled out something small and glimmering. It was a small silver key, shining like a beacon in the half-light. "What is it?" I asked, my curiosity piqued. "It's a key to the old archives," he said urgently. "The place where they keep records of everyone who's ever been here. If you're looking for answers, that's where you'll find them." A knot twisted in my stomach. "And what if I'm not ready to find those answers?" "Then maybe it's best to keep running," he offered. "But sooner or later, you'll need to face it." There was a weight in his gaze, a depth of understanding that wrapped around my heart like a protective embrace. But before I could respond, a noise shuddered through the alleyway, low and ominous, echoing like a growl. My pulse quickened as the moment slipped back into urgency, back into fear. "Go!" he urged, shoving the key into my hand. "Get to the archives. I'll hold them off. Just don't look back." "But I can't leave you," I protested, feeling helpless as the instinct to protect surged within me. "You must. There's too much at stake," he insisted, his eyes boring into mine, filled with an intensity one had rarely encountered. "If they find you here." Without waiting for him to finish, I turned and sprinted toward the nearest exit, the key clutched tightly in my palm, feeling its cold promise against my skin. Each footfall echoed down the empty street, adrenaline coursing through my veins, driving me away from the only person who had offered me hope in this descent into madness. With every step, I kept replaying his face in my mind, my heart torn between the burning need to uncover my past and the horrifying realization that it could lead to unbearable truths. The stillness of the night surrounded me, punctuated only by the distant sounds of chaos from the diner. My breath came in heavy bursts as my surroundings blurred into a haze of streetlights and shadows. As I approached a rusted door with a flickering sign above, I hesitated. The archives loomed before me, a vault of hidden truths and forgotten stories. My heart thundered in my chest, the anticipation blending with creeping dread. Deep down, I knew that the key was more than just a ticket to answers. It was a gateway into understanding why those hollow eyes had felt so eerily familiar. Summoning every ounce of courage I had left, I inserted the key into the lock, the cold metal cutting into my palm. As it turned toward me with a click, the door creaked open, inviting me into darkness, but the moment I stepped into the archives, a low voice rose behind me, slithering through the silence like a snake. "You shouldn't have come here." My heart sank. I turned slowly, dread pooling in the pit of my stomach. The figure emerging from the darkness was shrouded in shadow, but I could make out the familiar outline. The voice was unmistakable, bearing an intimacy that seared my core with unforgotten pain. "Why did you leave?" it asked, laced with a sorrow that shattered the walls I had built around my heart. "I thought we lost you for good." The world around me dimmed, the weight of memories both crushing and familiar crashing over me. I had thought I was prepared, but as the pieces of my past began to align, a new wave of desperation seized me. "Mom?" I whispered, the truth of the moment dawning upon me like the first light of dawn breaking through the night. The moment hung between us, suspended in time as her familiar silhouette emerged from the darkness. My heart raced and scrambled like a wild animal attempting to escape a cage of memories. "Mom?" I barely stood, my voice wavering like a candle flickering in the wind. She stepped closer, her features illuminated by the silver moonlight that seeped through the dusty windows. Lines etched across her face were new to me, deepened by the weight of years I had never witnessed. The space felt smaller as the past pressed against me, pulling memories from the depths of my subconscious, memories tinged with joy and a sharp ache of loss. "It's really you," she said, her voice breaking slightly, as if she were afraid to fully enter the moment. "I thought I would never see you again. I thought I had lost you. Why did you leave?" The question escaped my lips like a desperate plea, the truth I had sought bubbling beneath the surface like a long-buried secret. "What happened to us?" "To you?" Her eyes glistened with unshed tears, a mirror reflecting years of sorrow and longing. "I was scared. Scared to face what was happening in our lives. I thought I was protecting you by leaving. But all I did was, it felt like I ripped a part of you away till I had to find you," I said, the anger rising within me like bile. I tried so hard to understand. Every day without you felt like drowning." The words poured out in a rush, raw and unfiltered. "And now, you're here, and I don't know how to feel. I don't know who to trust." She reached out, longing etched on her face, but I took a step back, the distance a necessary barricade against the storm of emotions threatening to engulf me. "I have questions, Mom. I've always had questions. You can't just show up after all this time and think that it's enough." "I know," she breathed, her voice trembling, laden with regret. "But I'm here now. I can explain everything, but we need to be careful. They're looking for you, and we don't have much time. You must understand who's looking for me." My voice grew louder, echoing off the walls. The realization dawned on me that the darkness in my past had seeped into the present, and I was now firmly ensnared within its grip. "Those who didn't want you to find me. They know you're looking for answers, and they can't let that happen," she replied, urgency creeping into her tone. "They have reasons to keep the truth hidden, and I thought I could shield you from it. But clearly, I was wrong." Just then, flickering lights outside broke the delicate silence, shadows falling across the archives. I felt my heart leap into my throat. "They were coming. We have to leave. Right now," I urged, every instinct screaming at me to run. "No." She grabbed my arm, her grip a fragile tether connecting me to a past I both loved and hated. "If we run, you may never know the full truth of your heritage." "Mom, this isn't the time." I twisted my arm and urged her toward the back exit, another thrill of fear racing through me. "You don't understand how dangerous this is." "I do, and that's why we must uncover it." Suddenly, a loud crash shattered the quiet, sending flares of adrenaline sparking through my veins. The rusted door burst open, revealing a figure I recognized only too well, the man from the street, now unmasked in the harsh light, his uneasy face haunted by worry. He hadn't followed me, he had found me, and I could see the storm brewing in his eyes. "You shouldn't have come back here," he warned, gaze shifting from me to my mother, comprehension dawning. "You both need to get out. Now." As the weight of his words settled over us like a shroud, I couldn't shake the feeling that this moment would change everything. The fragile truth of my past lay intertwined between us, vibrating with unspoken words that begged for release. "I need to know," I said, my voice barely above a whisper, drowning in the knowledge that this might be the only chance I would have to uncover all the hidden chapters of my life. "Will you tell me everything?" Before she could respond, another sound rattled through the air. Footsteps echoed down the hallway, heavy and deliberate. It was too late, we were trapped in a web of secrets, the time for escape dwindling as the convergence of our stories threatened to unravel. They were coming for us, and the consequences of the decisions we'd made began to loom large, both of us caught in the crosshairs of a truth that had the power to shatter us, and as I stood there, heart pounding in my ears, I understood, the key to my past was also the key to my future. But the choices ahead threatened to tear apart the fragile bond one was just beginning to rebuild. Would I find clarity, or was I stepping resolutely into chaos? The door creaked ominously as if mocking my indecision, and I knew that the answers would not come without sacrifice. I had to choose, confront the ghost of my past or protect the remnants of my heart. In that moment, the shadows around us seemed to stretch longer, whispering promises of secrets that, once revealed, would unleash an emotional tempest greater than anything I had ever faced. The footsteps grew closer, an ominous reminder of the reality closing in around us. I stood between my mother and the man who had just warned us, each of them representing a different path I could take. I could feel the heat of the decision pressing down on me, relentless and suffocating. "We need to go," the man urged again, desperation sharpening his voice. "There's no time for questions. You can find answers when you're safe." "Safe from what?" I spat, indignation flaring. "What do you know that I don't?" My mother's expression twisted between fear and resolve. "Please, I can't lose you again. We have to trust him. We can't be captured, not now." "Capture by who?" I demanded, a sense of betrayal crawling up my spine. Had she been too consumed by her own fears to protect me from whatever dark forces lay in our past? "By those who want to keep the truth about you hidden," she replied softly, her eyes filled with an urgency I couldn't ignore. "Your existence is far more important than you realize. Your name carries weight, danger." That single phrase wrapped around my thoughts like a vice, squeezing tighter with each breath. "My name?" I repeated, but I was interrupted as the door crash-landed open, splintering against the wall with violent shouts. "Find them!" A menacing voice echoed through the archive, forcing me backwards instinctively. The man grabbed my wrist, eyes darting toward my mother. "Come on!" he shouted, yanking me toward a narrow corridor. My body moved without hesitation, years of instinct whispering to me that running was my best course of action. In the chaos, I risked a glance back at my mother. Her face was a mix of fear and determination, and that terrifying revelation cut deep. Each step I took was tethered to every unanswered question, and with every fleeting moment of escape, a fragment of the connection we were beginning to rebuild shattered. We dashed through the dimly lit hallway, the walls like shadows pressing in on us, decor reflecting years of neglect and secrecy. I couldn't help but wonder how many others had walked this path, how many had sought answers only to be met with danger and despair. It felt like I was trespassing in forbidden territory, a land of history and heartbreak. As we made our way toward a back exit, I caught sight of a flickering light dancing through an ajar doorway. Somehow, it beckoned me, a faint whisper amid the chaos. "Wait!" I called, attempting to pull away from the man's grip. "We can't just run." "What's behind that door?" He hesitated, the tension in the air thick enough to slice through. "No. We don't have time to investigate every shadow. Just trust me." But the word trust surged through me like a tidal wave. Could I really trust him? He was a stranger who had intruded upon my life in its most vulnerable moment. My heart pounded with uncertainty, a fierce clamor of doubt echoing as I looked back toward the glimmering light shining like a beacon of hope. The footsteps thundered closer, solid and terrifying. A flash of movement caught my eye, and I quickly turned back to see my mother, her body tense, ready to follow me into the unknown, despite everything she had endured. "We have to stick together," she urged. "You have to talk to me, to trust me." But I was swept away by the currents of adrenaline, a surge of instinctive survival propelling me towards the light. "We can't keep pretending like everything is fine," I shouted over my shoulder, knowing the words cut across the fragile fabric of our bond. Suddenly, the world around us shifted. Instead of opening the door to freedom, I found myself staring into a cramped supply closet, the space cluttered with forgotten tools and sheets of dust that floated lazily in the air. A shiver ran down my spine as I realized this was not a place of sanctuary, it was a hidden chamber of confinement. The moment rushed in, the anxiety, confusion, and fear crashing together like frantic waves. "What is happening?" I gasped, my heartbeat reverberating in my ears, drowning out the world outside. The man held my gaze, heavy with an emotion I couldn't quite decipher: uncertainty, fear. Perhaps a glint of compassion. You need to listen. There's something you don't know about your past, about why they want you. Your connection to this place is deeper than you understand. Before I could respond, an unexpected movement disrupted my thoughts. A figure erupted from the shadows: a janitor, eyes wide with surprise. The man opened his mouth, ready to intervene, but it was too late. The janitor's gaze darted back and forth between us before he stammered, "What are you doing here? Get down." The man hissed, suddenly pushing me behind him, his body a solid barrier against the unknown peril inching closer. Yet, in that flash of confusion, I caught sight of something glinting in the janitor's pocket: a keyring laden with strange symbols. Symbols that resonated with something lodged deep within my memory, a spark igniting amid the fog. "Wait," I started, stepping forward as if some unseen force urged me to approach. "Do you have a key? A key to something important?" And as the words left my mouth, silence enveloped the closet, tension hanging heavy in the air. The janitor's eyes widened, an understanding flickering across his face that sent a shudder through my soul. And in that gaze, I sensed the promise of unrevealed truths, the heart of a life-changing secret waiting to be disclosed. But just as quickly, the door burst open beyond us with a force that threatened to snatch away any chance of discovery. More footsteps pounded through the corridor, and I realized that this was more than a desperate dash for answers. We were standing at the precipice of both danger and revelation. Would this be the moment I discovered the key to everything, or would it slip through my fingers, lost to the shadows forever? As I stood frozen, I felt the weight of the world's pressing in around me, knowledge of all I stood to lose if I didn't act, the urgency of the moment morphing into a suffocating force that threatened to choke off my very breath. The janitor's eyes darted back toward the door as if assessing how much time we had left before the shadows closed in. "Please, we don't have time for this," the man hissed, a desperate urgency slicing through the tension. "You can't let them catch you here." I glanced from him to the janitor, feeling the intensity radiating from both men, a silent warning thrumming in the air like the distant rumble of thunder. What was the meaning of the symbols on the keyring? They begged for interpretation, demanding I see the connection when my mind was still reeling from the storm of revelations. "Do you know what these keys unlock?" I stammered, stepping closer to the janitor, my heart racing faster than ever before. He hesitated, eyes flickering with uncharacteristic vulnerability, a ghost of hesitation that hinted at a lifetime of guarding secrets. "I do," he murmured, barely more than a breath. "But we're running out of time. Trust me." "No. You can't just leave me hanging," I pleaded, desperation spilling from my voice, now a frantic echo within the cramped space. "I need to understand what I'm a part of, what this all means. I need to know why they're after me." Silence stretched between us, stretching taut like the strings of a bow drawn to its limit. I could still hear the footsteps approaching someone, a group, intent on capturing what they believed to be theirs. "I understand your urgency, but some truths come with a price," the janitor finally said, looking directly into my eyes. "Are you willing to pay that price? Because once you enter this world, there's no turning back." My breath came faster, anxiety swallowing my resolve. Did I truly want to uncover deeper connections to a past I had fought to unearth, especially one that tied me back to family, to bloodlines, and possibly to danger that spiraled like a twisting vine through my veins? Just then, the door split open wider, the cacophony of footsteps and voices pouring in like a herald of doom. "They're here," the man growled, pushing me behind him, a barrier of flesh against the chaos consuming the air. "You have to get out now." Well, look for the keys later. Torn between the urgent shout and the lover for knowledge filling my heart, I was unsure. Everything I had hoped to find, every trace of understanding, could be lost if I failed to take this leap into the unknown. "I can't," I cried, the words escaping like a desperate fawn trapped in a hunter's sights. "I can't leave without knowing the truth." "Please," the janitor's expression tightened. "You'll only find heartbreak. You don't know what it will cost to uncover your past, and I can't let you know." My voice broke, authority-wielding frustration and determination I didn't know I had. "You don't get to decide that for me. I need to know." More than anything, just as the echoing footsteps drew closer, I tore the key ring from the janitor's grasp, feeling the weight of fate settle heavily in my hands. Each symbol pulsed with memories long locked away, secrets entwined with all who had come before me. "Will you trust me?" I echoed both the janitor's earlier words and something ancient buried deep within me. I want to see what this unlocks. Not just for me, but for all of us. For a moment, time unraveled as he weighed my words with the keen eyes of someone who had suffered too long. The silence spun into an eternity mingling hope and sorrow, understanding and pain. And then, just like that, clarity surged in the depth of his gaze. Okay, he breathed, wrestling his own fears. You're right. We need to face this together, but before I could process what that meant, the voices crescendoed outside. They were too close, creeping closer like phantoms poised to pounce. Without thinking, I nodded toward the closet. Go, they'll hold them off, the janitor urged. Find what you've lost, find your truth. He pushed me toward the back wall of the closet, his body bracing against the doorframe, a stoic guardian against the tempest raging outside, and with that, in one fluid motion, I pressed the key against the door marked with the figures the janitor had shown me. The lock clicked, and I inhaled sharply as the door creaked open, revealing a hidden entryway filled with flickering lights, beckoning me like distant stars. With fear wrested away, I turned back only once, catching the gaze of the man who had stood by me, marked by a swirl of unanswered questions and bravery that set my heart alight. I will return, I shouted, and as I stepped fully into the light, I felt the world behind me pulsating with a finality, shattering the fear of the past and illuminating a path to the truth waiting just beyond the door. The moment I crossed the threshold, a hum surged through meth energy of 1,000 hidden stories carries weight and purpose as it awakened dormant courage within my bones. As I surveyed the dimly lit passageway blossoming before me, I prepared myself for what lay at its end. This was the turning point where everything would unfold. The truth of my name, of who I truly was finally within reach, and as I stepped boldly into the universe of revelations that awaited, a single thought coursed through my mind. Sometimes, to find home, you must be willing to step into the uncharted chaos of your own heart and reclaim the essence of what it means to truly be alive.